A dash of mystery, a sparkle of magic, and all things cozy. Join your host, Elle Hartford, for Cozy Alchemy, a proud member of the Authors on the Air network. Hello and welcome to Cozy Alchemy, the show about spellbinding cozy books. I'm Elle, and I'm here with also Elle, Elle Wren Burke, who has written some amazing paranormal cozy mysteries. But she's going to start us off with a guessing game.
Yeah, so I am here for two truths and a lie. Um, okay. So, um, my neck tried to kill me.
Ooh.
I'm deathly allergic to guinea pigs.
Ooh.
I'm writing a romance novel.
Ooh. Okay, so I'm going to try and guess which is the lie. Allergic to guinea pigs would be sad, but they are pretty furry, so I could see how that might be true. I feel like you could write a really cool romance novel. Um, but I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna stick. The first one is the lie. I hope. I don't know.
That my neck tried to kill me.
Yes, yes.
No, that's true.
uh,
I wish.
I
Um,
know.
okay, the lie is that I'm writing a romance novel.
Okay.
One day, maybe.
I
I'm
know. I still
actually
think you could.
I want to one day. I am actually writing some fantasy novels, which I haven't
Ooh.
announced. This is the first time I've ever said that.
Woohoo. You
So
heard it
yeah,
here
first to
first.
know. Yeah, but no, my neck did try to kill me. I had an abscess that just grew like within hours out of like I'd been sick,
Ooh.
but I was starting to feel better, and then this like abscess in my neck, like inside, not on the outside,
Oh,
grew
yeah.
and just started. First, it was pushing on my esophagus, and it like closed up my esophagus, and I couldn't swallow or anything.
Oh,
And
my
then
goodness.
it was, like going for the windpipe, and
Yikes.
yeah, so I got to the hospital like just in time, and
Wow.
they saved me.
Good.
Um, and then I am deathly allergic to guinea pigs too, so it is really sad. Especially because my best friend
Yeah.
loves guinea pigs, and it was a whole thing. She was my
They're
roommate
a
in
lot of
college.
fun. Oh, ooh,
Yes.
yeah, that would be tough. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it just guinea pigs or like all rodent type
It is all
animals?
rodent type animals,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
So, but it seems like the smaller they are, maybe the less allergic I am to them. So I'm actually deathly afraid to get near a capybara, even though they're so cute. I'm like, I think it might
Yeah.
actually like kill me if I get within like, 10 feet. But I love watching them online, so I'm kind of
The
sad about that
wonders of
one.
the internet. Yeah,
Right?
at least you can
Yeah.
see them from afar.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And actually, I kind of like that as a segue because so your book, What the Spell, is going to be out the day that this podcast airs.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, right? And it has such a fun origin story. Can you tell us a little about that?
Yeah, so I've always wanted to write like a witchy cozy mystery. I've written other paranormal
Mm-hmm.
ones, but I wanted to go for the witchy stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
there's so much potential there for all these whimsical elements, and your imagination is really the limit. And
Mm-hmm.
I thought it would be fun to have my newsletter subscribers participate. And I've had them participate in like other little over the years, other little questions like, maybe like naming something here or there.
Mm.
But I thought it would be fun to just do like a whole series of surveys to help um, choose little elements of either the series or this particular book. So some examples are that they chose which types of like paranormal beings or supernatural beings would be included in the series in additional to
Right.
the witches. So like they chose ghosts, fairies, and shifters, but they didn't want to include vampires. So we nixed the vampires.
Right.
And then they named the main character, they named her Kinley, they named her familiar Twilight, who's like a gray cat, and they chose that she would be a
Nice.
cat. I gave them like 4 or 5 options, and they
Mm-hmm.
named the love interest, they named her best friend. Um, they chose the love interest familiar as well, so he's got a little mini dragon, which is
Ooh,
great. Yeah,
fun.
I
Yeah.
was so excited. I didn't think that they were going to choose that one, so I was like over the moon. I was like, there's so much potential here. And he's like one of my favorite characters, actually. I mean, the love interest,
It's
yeah, but the
amazing.
dragon,
Yeah.
yeah, was like amazing.
Yeah.
Um, they chose like the best that her best friend would be a ghost, and they named the town
Nice.
Sea Sprite Isle, and got to choose like the name of one of the social medias in the magical world. So they chose Charm
Nice.
Chat,
Yeah.
which is, and it's kind of fun because like I got to come up with like those were hard actually, the social medias. Like I came up with like 4 or 5, and those were pretty hard. And I kept going to my husband like, "Is this one any good?" And he's like,
That's right.
"No."
Yeah, because for you, you had to come up with like not just the social media in the town, but like 4 options for
Yeah.
people to choose from. Yeah.
So
So
I
really,
had
you
to
set
like,
yourself up for more
I
work.
know. I was kind of like, there were a few times where I was like, what am I doing? Like, this is a lot. But some of them I got to use more than one. Like when they named the town, like there are other magical towns in the world, in the like magical world.
Oh,
So I got to
yeah.
take some of those. Like I took like the second and third choices out of the 5 and used those for
Nice.
other towns. So
There you
so
go.
yeah, that I was like, you know
No
what, this
brain
actually makes
powers
sense.
wasted.
Yeah. Yeah. So I actually hope that's what you meant by the origin story of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Okay.
no, yeah, because I was watching this unfold, because of course I am on your newsletter, and
Yeah.
I just think it's so cool. It's so much fun.
It was
But then
fun.
from, yeah, but from there, like in terms of then, like everybody helped you make these decisions, and now you have to write it. Like, how
Yeah.
did you go about that? Was it different? Was it normal?
Um
Like,
from there it wasn't too different because the types of things that they chose were like I mean there were like some things that did affect like the world building.
mm-hmm.
But once the world building was more complete, which did take me longer for this series than my other ones, just because it became quite intricate. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and because mostly because I kept having fun with it too.
That's a
But
good problem to have.
yeah, exactly. Um, but like all the character work that was the same, like character backstories and all that, and then all the plotting, I kept all that for me to do. And so that stuff ended up being the same, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't think it ended up really being any different once I kind of got into it. Um,
Nice.
yeah, yeah.
Once you get going, yeah. Well, and because you have so much automatic buy-in, right, from everybody who's been like helping collaborate on naming things. There's I feel like
Yeah.
that's just adds to the momentum for this new story, right?
I think
Oh.
so. I hope so. I
Mm-hmm.
think that, for the people who have participated, I think they'll enjoy getting to see their choices
Mm-hmm.
in the book kind of like as they read. And there are some things like they got to pick like if the witches will fly or if they'll use wands, and so they'll get to see that stuff in action. But then they might see like something else that they got to name or whatever just in passing or whatever. So I think that
Fair.
could be fun for the
Yeah, yeah.
people
Just a little
as they read.
throwaway reference.
Yeah, yeah. Um yeah, and
Yeah,
I had
absolutely.
pretty good reception from people who emailed me back about it and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it was a really fun
Yeah.
fun thing. I might not do it again just because like you said it was a lot more work for me in the end, but it was also really fun. And I don't know about you, but sometimes also when you are creating a new world, there are times when there are so many decisions to make, and there's times where you're like, I don't know what to go with. So there were a few things where it was kind of nice not to
Yeah.
have to be the one making like all the decisions. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Decision paralysis. I totally get
right.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Nice. Was there anything else that you've really loved about working on What the Spell?
Oh, I've really loved everything about this one. I think this was um by far of my paranormal cozies was just the most fun, and I just loved it so much.
Oh.
I think not only because of all the magic and all the whimsical things I was able to put into it and just really stretch my imagination, but I wrote this while I was going through a lot with really bad migraines, and
Mm.
I've had them for a long time, but they were really getting worse, and
Yeah.
they kind of came to um, like the worst point that I had while I was writing this book. So I was pretty much like stuck in a super dark room
Mm.
all the time. I couldn't go outside like at all because of the light
Oof.
sensitivity, and
Yeah.
so I was basically just like stuck in my house, stuck in this one room where I could control the light completely,
Mm.
um, and control the sound and things like that. And so I was writing on a tablet that uses the same technology as a Kindle, so that I wasn't even using like a monitor.
Right.
And
Okay.
so I was so limited in what I could do that I pretty much had reading and writing, and that was it.
Mm.
And so this was really a way for me to like like not only stretch myself creatively.
Creatively. There we go. We got
And
there.
yes, thank you. And but also just to like take myself somewhere else, because I was stuck.
Yeah.
So it really like let me transport myself somewhere else.
Mm.
And then I just got to like have so much fun with it. So it was a hard time for me, but it like gave me a sense of joy during that time. And so that was
Mm.
great. And so I got to like create this like whimsical world, and it was therapeutic. And I also wrote the main characters having migraines too. And so that was very I've done that with some of my other characters, which I think we'll talk about later, but
Right. Yeah.
it was just it's always, I think, really therapeutic also to be able to express my like various like disabilities through the characters that I write. And her migraines are kind of a catalyst for the explosive opening to the book, which I won't spoil. But
It's
so it
very
was just a
dramatic.
fun,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it is dramatic.
Have you
And
seen it? Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I got to like create like her house is super whimsical, and there's all these fun
Whoop.
businesses on the island, and like all this great stuff that was just so fun. But I love the characters too. Like the characters were just really fun to create, and I really wanted to create this sense of close like community for her and give her friends in a way she hadn't had before, and all the familiars I had fun with too, like
Right.
her
Yeah.
her familiar Twilight, her gray cat is just excited and enthusiastic about everything, and she's obsessed with the
Oh,
movie
yeah.
Clueless, and
Yeah.
just I don't know, it was just fun, I just had fun with all of it.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah. Well, and on that note, like you said something in there I really want to dive into because I feel really strongly about it too. This idea that, um, you know, writing these cozy books and creating these cozy worlds, it it helps us through, kind of honestly darker times in our
yep.
lives and things that we're going through, which I've always found so funny because often cozy books can kind of be dismissed as just being light or
Yes,
fluffy, but there's
absolutely.
this really kind of deep sincerity and healing to them,
I
you know.
agree. I think you're 100% right. Like the sincerity and the healing, it's very important because it can really help us as writers through what we're going through in our lives. It can bring us this
Mhm.
sense of
Mhm.
joy and peace, and it can really help the characters and help us express ourselves through the characters. But then that reflects onto the reader, like as they
Right.
read what these characters are experiencing. Like a lot of these characters are on like these slower healing journeys throughout these
Mhm.
series, and as readers kind of experience that with them, it helps them, and it transports the readers out of whatever's going on in their lives, when they're experiencing hard things. I
Sure.
know that's what I do is as a reader is
Yeah.
I reach for cozy things when I'm experiencing a hard time. Like I love reading all kinds of, I love reading certain types of thrillers. I can't do like the
Yeah.
intense ones, but I love reading like certain thrillers, and I love reading like some of the heavier fantasy books and things like that. But I
Mm.
still like reach for so many cozy books too because I need that way to just like feel like that joy and that peace, and
Mhm. Mhm.
helps you like kind of like let
Absolutely.
go of your day and
Yeah, well, and it's reassuring too, because like you're saying, like some of these arcs take a long time,
hmm
in books and in life, but in the meantime, there's a lot of like other cozy things happening, and like it's
yeah,
okay. Maybe the our problem isn't immediately solved, but we can still, sit down and have a cup of tea and talk to a friend,
right. Yeah,
you know.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah, we can go to our
Uh-huh.
magical bookstore or tea shop or
Yeah.
our alchemy shop.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love Red's shop.
Oh, thank you. Me
Yeah.
too.
Good.
And, well, on that note, we may have already kind of touched on this question, but what are you hoping for readers to take away from What the Spell?
Yeah, so I really want, I guess, a few things. Like one, just kind of like a sense of wonder as they read the book, like
Mm,
just
mm-hmm.
like all the like fun magical elements, and then like a sense of like community and friendship and support. And then I think the main thing is too is an understanding that like any like physical or mental health issue that you're experiencing like does not make you like less than, but like you deserve
Mm,
love and
yeah.
support and friendship, and that we all do, and that we're all in this together. And I think that's the other thing about cozies too, is that like that sense of togetherness is important.
Yeah.
And particularly I think that I try to show like support for like when my characters are going through these like physical issues like migraines, or
Mm-hmm.
my another one of my sleuths who has another one of my disabilities that causes a lot of chronic pain, that they have all this support from their friends, and that they deserve that support and that love, and we all
Yeah.
do, and I really want readers to take that away from the books. And we don't always get that from the people around us, and
Mm.
we should know that we deserve it. And if the people around us aren't giving it to us, then maybe we need new people around us.
Fair. Well,
If we can.
and sometimes, to be fair, speaking from my own experience, like sometimes we don't know to reach out, or we're too afraid to reach out for support until we see,
Yes,
it,
exactly.
yeah, it can happen, and it can happen for me, not just,
Yes, that's true.
yeah.
That's 100% true. Sometimes, yeah, sometimes we're not getting it simply because we don't realize that we need it, or that we deserve it, or
Mm-hmm.
we can ask for it. And yeah, just, just taking that first step to ask
Absolutely.
can be huge. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I love that. I love those takeaways, and I think they really come through from the book too. For
Oh,
having
good.
read it myself,
Oh,
yes.
good. I'm so
Mission
glad.
accomplished, I think.
Thanks.
But just since you have mentioned your other character, and I okay, we'll talk about it. But can you quickly run down your other series for us?
Sure. So I guess I'll start with my Vampire Pet Boutique series,
Mm-hmm.
since that's kind of the one I was mentioning. So
Mm-hmm.
I have a four-book series that features Josie, who is a vampire, a cozy vampire,
Mm-hmm.
who has
Right.
the same disability that I have, which is hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a
Mm-hmm.
connective tissue disease that causes like widespread pain and muscle
Mm,
spasms and makes mobility challenging. So walking can be challenging among other things. And so
right.
she often uses a wheelchair, especially when she's like in her pet boutique that she owns, because she would normally be on her feet a lot helping
Mm-hmm.
customers and things like that. But that's challenging. So she has a neon pink wheelchair that she uses,
Yeah.
which actually matches what I have.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah, fun fact, the wheelchair on the covers of the books is actually mine. The cover designer used photos of my own
That's so cool.
to make, yeah. Um, and yeah, and so she goes around with her group of friends and um solves mysteries in their little hidden vampire town. And she's got a little Scottish Terrier who's adorable.
Yeah.
And then let's see. Then I have my prickly pear psychic mysteries. So prickly pear is a uh little town I made up in Arizona where I live. Um, and this one's, I guess she's a psychic, but she lives in like a normal town. It's not hidden or anything like that.
Right.
And
Right.
yeah, so she's psychic, her family's psychic. She kind of gets like her long lost family um, coming back and develops her psychic powers more and more over the course of the book, and um, deals with a lot of issues with her family and things like that.
Mm.
She's got two adorable dogs,
Mm-hmm.
and through like by book four, her powers have developed more, and she comes across this cat that she can communicate with
Right.
probably more so than she would want, because he can fully communicate like as a human can. And he's definitely very what's the right word to describe Brighton? He thinks he's sort of like almost deserving of like a noble title, I think he
He's a
has been
cat.
called Lord Brighton. Yes, he's a cat.
Yeah.
So I did
Yeah.
my best to like make him a talking cat who is a cat, and thinks humans should serve him. And he actually has a spin-off
Right.
series called My Chatty Cat Mysteries, where
Right.
only his psychic humans can hear him and they solve mysteries. And so there's three books in that series too.
Just
So
so
yeah.
much fun.
Yeah, he's a hoot.
Yeah. But I love your Vampire Pet Boutique series too. So it's so funny that you were saying earlier that the folks voted against having a vampire in the witchy
I know.
series. So
I know. Yeah.
I guess they felt like you've explored that angle.
Yeah, I think that might be it. And I think there's just like different, I don't know. I think some cozy mystery readers just aren't that into vampires too. It's kind of
Hmm.
interesting. Yeah, I don't know.
So some
So,
sort of like magical creature discrimination or something.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, that one was kind of funny. It's, I was like, all right, it's okay if you like vampires. You've got a whole
Right?
series over here, and
That's
so
true. That is true.
yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And I love the way you do the overarching arcs in the series, the vampire series, but also the prickly pear. And doesn't Brighton have one as well? And I'm just like
He
totally,
does.
yeah, yeah, I'm
It's
just
kind of
totally
funny.
blanking.
His is
Yeah.
like, yeah, Brighton the cat has an arc that's sort of about kind of like learning to accept that being with being with his family is is like better than seeking too much adventure. Like trying to be out there all the time,
Ah,
seeking too much adventure as a
yes.
cat and
Yeah.
constantly pushing for that adventure, but that he has everything he
Hmm.
needs with his family and that,
Right. Yeah. It's very sweet. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's
Yes.
fun.
What do you think draws you to writing cozies with the paranormal or magical elements in them?
Well, I think I've always loved fantasy
Hmm.
for as long as I can remember, and I think that like well, when I first found like my first cozy like years and years ago now, I was like, oh, like this is interesting. And it was the first one I ever found was a paranormal cozy by Cindy Stark, actually. And or no,
Ah.
actually it was Gigi Pandian, and it was the
Oh,
Accidental Alchemist
classic.
series,
Yeah.
which you've probably, I mean, alchemy, you
Yeah.
probably, yeah. And then it was Cindy Stark. Um, and so I was kind of like, oh, interesting. And I loved the mixture of the two, the fantasy and the mystery, because a
Mm.
lot of like I love mysteries, but I don't like I don't like not knowing whether they're going to get too creepy, you know? And so I was like, oh, like this is great. This is like guaranteed to not get like too creepy. But I've always loved just the the concept of fantasy in general, but what I really like about mixing it in with cozies is that you just like you just have this whole like sense of like wonder, I guess. Like
Mm.
it's
Hmm.
not necessarily like, oh, we have like swords and wars and things like that, but it's like
Right.
vampire with a cup of tea and just like, oh, here's the witch
Yeah.
brewing their potion and these hidden towns full of all these cool things
Right.
um and I think I've always just loved that like idea of something more out there,
Mm.
like, you know, going through the wardrobe into the into the hidden world
Right.
and just
Right.
like
Yeah.
maybe there's just like the psychic vision waiting to happen or that little bit of magic that will spark one day or something. And I think ever since I was a kid I just really liked that idea.
Hmm.
And so combining that with the warm and fuzzies of a cozy is just like, I don't know, it's just perfect.
I love that. And I
Yeah.
have to agree.
Yeah, is that
But
the
if
same
we,
for you?
yeah, I think so. I think, yeah, in large part. I I joke a lot that I just can't write anything without magic in it. Like sometimes I've
Yeah.
tried, but I don't see the point. Why, if you can have magic in, why not?
I kind of the
It just
same way.
yeah,
I think
it
I
just
need at
adds,
least
yeah.
some, like, at least that psychic element, I think. I think
Mm.
that's where I
Mhm.
started because I was like too intimidated to put like too much magic in at first or
Fair.
something.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
Mhm.
I and now I'm like everywhere magic
Yeah.
in this
Yeah, you
and
could
in the
you
fantasy I'm writing.
yeah, right? You definitely could arrange your series, I think, on a spectrum of like
Right?
moving into
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, for sure.
But to flip it on its head, what do you love about writing mysteries?
I love I love arranging the puzzle. Like I think as the reader, right,
Mm.
you
Mm-hmm.
get this like satisfaction of like it it keeps driving you like who oh like I just want to know like who did this, but then you're also like trying to like figure out all the clues and you're like, "Ooh, I suspect you, Mr. Man in the Red Hat," or whatever. But as the author, it's like totally different, right? On the other side, like
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
it's like, ooh, like you might have this random idea and then you're trying to fit something to it, or you might be like, sometimes you're just like, I have a title that I kind of want to like use, and sometimes you're like,
Yeah.
I have the killer that I want, and so
Right.
you
Right.
have like different a different starting point sometimes
Mm-hmm.
than all your other books, and then you're like, wait, how do I make this work? But there's always a puzzle, and I just love building that. And then my favorite part is when you just start, like, your brain just starts firing off all the connections, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
And
And everything just comes together, right?
yes, yeah, and you're like,
Yeah.
what if
Yeah.
this and what if that? And then you just
Mm-hmm.
start like forming the web in your brain, and like the murder board with all the like red string just starts happening inside your head,
Right.
or maybe
Right.
it's on paper or whatever, but you're just like all of it comes together and it's so satisfying. But then
Yeah.
you can also think like, oh, like is anyone gonna guess this? And like where can I put in little things to like make this to like throw people off?
Mm.
And um and then I also love when, after you do write the book and you give it to someone to read, I love finding out what they thought was going on. Like, I don't know if this happens to you,
Ooh.
but like when people tell you who they suspected and it's not at all like who you meant for them to
Yeah,
suspect.
that has actually. Yeah, yeah. Or they'll come
Yeah.
up and they're like, "That character was super suspicious," and I'm like, "Oh, I, oh, okay."
Yeah, you're like,
I thought he
really?
was just normal, but all right.
Yeah. Yeah. You're
Okay.
like, he wasn't, I didn't, okay.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you're like, all right.
Thought he was being helpful, but
Right.
sometimes you can be too helpful.
Or like they were just supposed to be there. Like they were just
Right.
like they're just like the barista or something, but like I
Right.
don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or just the coworker. And they're like, oh, they were super
Right.
suspicious because they kept doing this, and you're like, okay, well, I'm glad that you had someone that you thought like that threw you off from the main like
Yeah.
from the
Yeah.
actual killer, but so
Exactly.
I love stuff like that too because it's so interesting to see what other people's brains do with the puzzle that you built,
That's such a
or
good
who
point.
guessed and who didn't, or even when they
Yeah.
guess, like, but then they'll be like, no, but I still really enjoyed it for these reasons, or I thought maybe it was this person, but I had no idea like why or something. I
Right?
I
Yeah.
like that too. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
That's
fun.
amazing. Okay, we have just a couple questions to wrap up with. Let's see. What one thing, if you had to narrow it down to just one, would you consider like quintessentially cozy?
Okay, so okay. So I kind of like two things popped into my head that are very different. I don't know, you said one thing,
Fair
but
enough. That's all right. Who cares about
okay.
rules?
Right? So, I mean, the first thing is just kind of like you're like when I think of like quintessentially cozy is like sitting in a chair with a blanket, a pet, and a book in whatever form, like ebook,
Yeah,
physical book, audiobook, with a hot beverage on like the first chilly day of the year. You're just like that is like
absolutely.
you're cozy. But
Yeah.
then like one of my like favorite like cozy things is the TV show Ghosts. I don't know if you've ever seen that
Oh,
show.
no, I
No,
haven't. I
it's
haven't.
so good. I think it's on CBS and like Paramount Plus, but
Okay.
it's set in this manor house in like upstate New York, and it has like this ensemble cast of ghosts, and the main character falls down the stairs in like the first episode, and then she can see
Oh.
them, and it creates all these
Oh.
like interesting scenarios. And I don't know why, but it's just the coziest show, and it's like my go-to like cozy show, or like if I'm
Oh, I
having a
love
bad
that.
day, it gives me all the same vibes as
Yeah.
cozy books. So it just kind of like popped because you said like
Ah,
setting, and that setting just kind of like
sure.
popped into my head. And I guess like a manor house is also often like a cozy like
Yeah. Yeah.
I inherited a B&B, or like
Right.
like that kind of thing, and they
Exactly.
turn it into a
Exactly. Yeah.
B&B, so it kind of like popped into my head because it's really similar. So you might like the show if
Yeah.
you're into that kind of
Yeah. Yeah. I'll have to
thing.
look that up. It sounds really
Yeah,
neat. Yeah.
it
That's
is.
so cool.
It definitely is.
Okay. And what advice would you give to yourself? Like, if you could talk to yourself back when you were just starting out, what would you say?
So I think I would say, um, slow down, take some breaths,
Mm,
and just have fun. Like have fun, be whimsical, just have fun,
yeah.
Don't be afraid to just explore the magic, but just have
Yeah.
fun. I think that's the biggest one. And not that I didn't have fun with it in the past, but like
Mm,
just focus on the fun. I think
I love
that's
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
What
That's
about you?
excellent advice.
I'm curious. I'm gonna
Ooh.
turn it around on you, Elle.
Fair enough. It's like a weird like confusion loop of L and L and who's
I know.
who is being interviewed. um uh I I really like what you first said about slowing down. Like that's definitely something that I struggled with at the beginning because I felt like I had to do all the things,
Yes, me too.
right? And then you just kind of like wear yourself out. But like this is
Yep.
a long game, you know? You want to be
Exactly.
in it for the long haul.
Exactly.
Um, so I really appreciate that. Um, also for I would say like, you got to trust yourself. Like you can
Yeah.
do all the research. And it's good to see what's out there, see what other people are saying, but at the end of the day, you have to make the choice that's best for you, and you have to trust yourself to be able to make that choice,
That is
right?
such good advice. I agree because I think there's an overwhelming amount of advice out there for
Mm,
authors, whether you're going for traditional publication or indie. And I think,
yeah.
when you're indie, you're doing it all yourself, and it can be very confusing because you'll get conflicting information, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that you're right. At the end of the day, you do have to trust yourself because, um, yeah, you can confuse yourself. You can
Yeah.
push
Yeah.
yourself too hard trying to follow other people's advice, and
Yeah.
burn yourself out. And yeah, I think you're 100% right. Just take a breath and
Yeah.
trust
Yeah.
yourself. And
Right? I
yeah,
know. It's amazing, at least for me, you might find the same, but a lot of like there's been a lot of overlap between my professional career as an author and kind of like my personal growth and development.
yeah,
You know,
same.
yeah. I think especially because like with an author, they always tell you like you are your brand and that sort of thing,
Yes.
and so much of it comes back to you. So you really have to, like you're not necessarily putting all of yourself in the spotlight, but you are putting a form of yourself out
You
there,
are, yeah.
and it does force you to yeah, to make peace with the all these things like having self-confidence and
Yes.
and and
Absolutely.
yeah, being able to talk about yourself.
You're so right. And I ended up kind of on a journey with that stuff, that kind of revolved around my disabilities
Mm-hmm.
anyway. And because so much changed in my life as my disabilities became more like prominent in my life, and I had to like stop working a normal job and like stuff like that,
Oh, yeah.
pushed me on like this like growth journey to reevaluate things. And then
Mm-hmm.
it's like that combined with the author journey, it's like, yeah,
Yeah, right? Yeah.
it really does make
Yeah.
you like think we're on our own character arcs here.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's
Well,
nice to hear that it's the same for you.
oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think either one of us is alone.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. And on that note, our final question, do you have a win for this week that you've had, big or small, so we can end on a positive note?
Yeah. This this felt really big to me. So I got an email from one of my ARC readers who told me that
Ooh.
they said your work matters and that reading my books keeps their mind off their pain when they'd otherwise be pacing and crying and having anxiety.
Oh.
And as someone, you know, for me, as someone who has a lot of chronic pain, that's huge and that's, you know, that's what it's all about. So just having someone tell me that, I almost cried. I was like, oh, it's just
Oh,
so
yeah.
nice to like to hear that. And I get more emails from people with chronic pain than, you know, anyone else. And
Fair.
I really try to keep contact with a lot of those readers because I think it's just important to have that community. And
Absolutely. That's
it's yeah,
amazing.
yeah. So that was kind of
Yeah, that's
my
so
win, and
cool.
yeah,
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 what an amazing win for the week. That's so cool. Because, like, that's, a large part of the purpose, right? That's the whole
right,
reason we
right,
got here. Yeah.
exactly, exactly.
That's so
So I'll take
cool.
that.
Yeah, 100%. All right. Well, that's all for us for today. Thank you so much, Elle, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And yeah, no problem at all. And for all you listeners out there, I will talk to you again soon. Cozy Alchemy is brought to you by Authors on the Air, and our theme music is by Cyberwave Orchestra. For everything else, blame Elle. You can find her online at lhartford.com.